Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om. Hello, my friends. I have to change the... Okay, now we are right. Troy from Australia, you may remember when there was the equinox, he organized a meditation for 2 days. And now he is going to do this again in the solstice, which is tomorrow or after tomorrow, depends where we are. So he's again asking anyone who is inclined to do so to join the meditation, the 20th and 21st, tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. His object is again to focus on love, on connecting, and everybody who feels like is welcome to join, to feel that there are other people all over the world doing the same thing at the same time. And one can do totally as one wants, sit sometimes longer periods, connecting with love, connecting with pure light, feeling that one is pure light, full of pure light, radiating pure light and connecting. Or one can also just once in a while tune in. It's not necessary that everybody who connects has to sit for hours. Can also these 2 days, those who like every now and then think of that, stop a moment, connect. Fill their heart with love and connect. Everybody who is doing that anytime is doing something very good for oneself, but it also has an impact on the totality of the human consciousness, on the longest that, on the whole manifestation. But when there is such an event that there are people consciously knowing that others at the same time are doing that all over the world, it has even a special impact. So everybody who feels like joining is very welcome to do so. Okay, shall we start with our conversation? I'm having a technical question. Is there anyone who knows about this? I bought a power bank and I know it's working. I charged it and I have charged my handy with it, but I didn't have a cable. And just now the cable came and I tried to connect with the computer and somehow it doesn't work. Maybe the cable doesn't function, but maybe there is a special trick to it. And if somebody has an idea about it, you are welcome to tell me. Otherwise, it's possible that in the middle of the satsang, I quick have to run down and connect with the battery, because already the whole day we don't have current here. And if the current doesn't come during the satsang, and if the power bank doesn't work, then I have to go down and connect the cable I put here up with the battery. Hello, Lutz.
Yeah, I think you brought the wrong thing. These power banks usually are designed for charging mobile phones or tablets, but they are not designed for supporting laptops. I mean, you're talking about a laptop, right?
Right, I'm talking about a laptop, but in the description where I bought it, the laptop was included. It should. It was.
I mean, usually the laptop has a kind of power connector which has some. It's like a pin.
Yes, right.
Yeah, some kind of round something.
Yeah.
And now, if the power bank really is able to provide now this current and this voltage, usually the charging voltage for a laptop is something like 18 volts, at least, or 19 or 20 or something like that. And the power banks usually they deliver only 5. But maybe you have a special power bank which has a special output for charging a laptop. I don't know this one.
Yeah. Anyhow, it doesn't work.
So how did you connect the
with
power
the
bank?
USB?
Yeah, there's no that cannot work.
Because I watched, anyhow, we should not stay too long, but I watched on YouTube, and one fellow did it by USB. His laptop got charged.
Usually these things.
Sorry?
Usually these things need charging to begin with when you first get them. Doesn't it need to be charged before you can use it? You have to charge it full.
I charged it. I already used it for the mobile, but I only got the cable to connect with the laptop now to USB, and at least if I put it in, absolutely nothing happens.
I think if you saw it really on YouTube, either you misunderstood something, or somebody making a joke. Making some. Yeah, maybe at some other point in time we can maybe talk more about that.
I accept defeat. Let's leave the subject and not dwell any longer on that. So hopefully the current comes during the satsang, otherwise I will have at some time to run down and connect with the big battery. Lutz, do you incidentally want to talk something else?
Yeah, maybe we should, since the time for talking is maybe shorter than usual, maybe I should start right away.
Yeah.
You have done a huge practice in your life, very long and very intense. And what made you start? I mean, there are some people, for example, who have some ailments or some problems or something, and then they go to a teacher or the healer or somebody like that, in order to get healed and so, and eventually they get healed, but maybe also they get something else, and then they continue their practice, although the initial starter, which was the disease or the kind of depression or whatever it is already long gone. But still they connected to something deeper, and they continue the practice. So just for curiosity, what was your initial
Actually, I cannot say one point in time, because as long as I remember, there was that curiosity, knowing to what the heck is going on here. Feeling totally strange as a child in this world, thinking something is wrong, why am I here? and then when I got in touch with yoga, already there I had fantasies. I was a 14-year-old lad and had fantasies. One day I go to the Himalayas and find a yogi and sit in the cave with a yogi and stuff like that. And then I came to India with 25 to an ashram studying Vedanta. It was a very good school for Vedanta, but more and more I understood it's not my cup of tea. If somebody wants to go on that way and study more and try to go deeper in that way, fine. But more and more I felt I really want to sit, that's my thing. And then I came to Amma and she totally confirmed, you can't sit, you want to sit, don't do anything else. So that's what I did after that, as good as I could. It was really an urge that I felt I'm getting closer to something I'm looking for, I'm yearning for, by simply meditating as good as much as I can.
Okay, I mean, one can take this one as a starter, but this, I mean, what you did was a very strenuous thing, going up and down for many, many, many years. So still, I mean, initially everybody has maybe some kind of feeling of there's something different in this world, and maybe one meets some people who have some special inner realization, and therefore they have some kind of charisma, and one feels good in their presence and all this. But from all this, you at least in my understanding, you do not automatically get the power to sit every day, year after year after year, no matter what. I mean that that's some kind of a superhuman feat in a way. So now you in a way you put aside anything else and just focused on that. So that there must have been some. I suppose you had some glimpses at some time which were so kind of fascinating. That is what I want to go there again. I mean that's my theory. That's maybe my approach. Maybe you're very different, but yeah.
Actually, I had those moments where everything stopped, full of peace and joy, since I was a child. I thought this is normal. Everybody has those. Finding out that maybe it's not so, or maybe all the children have, and after that they all lose it. But this happened as long as I remember, and that somehow inspired me. That it was not that. Oops, the current command pump is working. That shouldn't work right now. Is there a big noise here for you? No. Okay, then. So I'm safe. The current came back. And then when I started to really meditate with Amma, I mean that I could continue like this was due to that connection with her, the faith in her. Even when I was pissed off and thought I can't anymore, I don't want anymore, nothing is happening, somehow she just managed to always encourage me to continue. Without that support, I don't think I could have done what I done the first 10 years. This, you said there was this big up and down. This was mainly in the first years that I struggled and thought, now within short time something should happen. And having the feeling not much is happening and getting totally depressed sometimes about it, and trying to do all kinds of tricks to force the divine that something is happening. Made only a fool out of myself, but still, even when I was struggling within that struggle, it did happen in my long hours of sitting, that in between there those moments which I know already my whole life long. Those moments came where everything stopped and there was peace, and confirming that after all it makes totally sense to go in this direction. And in a way, deep down was that decision there. Now I've tried all kinds of other things in my life before, but now I'm just going for that. And either I succeed or I die trying to get there. But there is no third solution, not giving up and going for something else. That was simply out of the question. Still, I think, no, I'm sure, I couldn't have pulled it through if I had been on my own, if I hadn't had that support of Amma being there, sometimes cajoling me, saying, hey, come on, my little baby, just work a little more, it will be all right. Sometimes rather threatening me, saying, hey, you fellow, don't you dare to give up. It's such a grace in this restless age to be able to sit like this. If you throw it away, oh, giving me the feeling very bad things are going to happen. But it was not really that fear that drove me on, just that it was so deeply ingrained that when the time came, that I have the opportunity and got the support and the surroundings that I could do so, there was simply no more question about it. That is my story. Doesn't mean now everybody has to sit on their bum all the time to get somewhere. For me, I felt that's how it goes. And Amma felt, yeah, that's how I want to, and that's sooner or later something may work. So she very, very much encouraged me and supported me. Anyhow, that's my story. Like one very inspiring man that I met in Bombay, Nisargadatta, he never did such a thing. I mean, he did for a few years an intense practice that all the spare time he had, he was sitting alone in his room, intensely connecting with his guru and his guru's teaching. But at the same time, he was living his family life, marrying away his daughters, like a good Indian papa should do, earning his money by rolling and selling beedis, smoking them all the time. So it's not whether you sit all the time or not, it's simply what is the crucial factor that you are really sincere about it. That somehow that sincerity comes by being fed up with suffering. I've had it, seeing that whatever tried to make me happy may feel like makes me happy for a moment, and there is always so much suffering involved, and that it comes really deep out of you that this is not natural, because everybody deep down knows it's not natural to suffer. Our nature, our true nature is joyousness, is bliss, is peace. Consciousness naturally is expanding and not being forced to turn around and round and round in a little bubble that makes us suffer. And if we are really fed up to create suffering any longer, then that sincerity comes that we do whatever we feel we need to do to get out of suffering. Well, is there anything you would like to add?
Not now.
Not now. Shall we leave it at that?
In Switzerland.
In Switzerland, okay. Hari Om, Lutz, Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to come in? Please come. How many are we?
Hi, Werner.
Hello, Helen.
Hi. About mental madness.
Mental madness.
Madness, yes. Madness of the mind. Over the last week, I've been thinking about what is this Vasana that keeps coming back? And what keeps coming back and what kind of pulls me out of being centered and at peace is, of course, my mother's Alzheimer. And my brother also had a stroke, so he has vascular dementia. So my bubble is living with my mum and taking care of both of them. And under lockdown, I'm just surrounded. It's like living in a mental hospital. I feel I'm surrounded.
Right.
And I realized that it's maybe this thing of transforming when the mind actually goes out of control and there's no pulling back from madness. And I don't know, want a bit of advice of how to deal with it, because
how not to get crazy.
How not to get crazy, because how not to get crazy, because is at the moment it's just the only thing that helps me is actually just hold tight to something within me that is, it's not, I call it holding tight to my heart, but it's like, it's almost a struggle. It's like a doing to not let this sort of powerful monster kind of overwhelm. And I'm kind of getting tired and exhausted from it. And I'm just sort of, how to not get crazy, really.
Just one external question. Are you still under lockdown in England?
We're not under lockdown anymore. And I managed to have a 2-week break away. But then I came back and it wasn't even worth it because the turmoil and the chaos was so tremendous. My mother hit another rapid decline in her dementia. And I was left like this. And I also can stay with my cousin, but I'm called back every day because of this chaos and panic and stuff. So, it's like I don't have a chance to have a break.
Yeah. And now just, I will come back to your question, but just another practical question. I mean, if it's getting too much, can your mother not be in a place where she gets professional help?
Yes, I'm actually looking at care homes now.
Right. I mean, it's tremendous, the input.
Yeah.
And in a place where they have professionals, they are used to deal with it, and it's different than having her at home with you.
Yes, yes.
Right.
I'm at the moment researching this.
Right.
But it's like it's not yet the point.
Yeah. Just as a direction. I mean, I think it's great that you came back from India with the idea that you are doing that. It's great that you have hold out all this time now, but that doesn't mean that you have now made a vow to stick it out forever and ever if there is another possibility.
Yes, because I'm tussling with that. Is this my spiritual path, or is it? I don't know. Or am I got such a deep Christian belief that I should suffer to God? I don't know. I'm sort of this is the other dilemma. Is this the path?
I recommend you if you can. I recommend you if you can, if it's possible, that your mother is getting professional help, that she can be in a place where people who are trained to do so and earning their livelihood doing so,
yes,
can take care of her, and then you still can be in touch as you want. But if it's, I mean, you stuck it out now for a long time, and if it's getting too much, no, you are not condemned to just go on and on and on and on like that.
okay.
Now, how to deal with the crazy mind? It's a bit a funny question to ask a crazy fellow like this.
That's exactly why I'm asking you.
I mean, we are all crazy. If you look how people living, what they think is normal, I think it's totally crazy.
Yes.
It's just what the most of the people do is looked at as normal, and they think when people do something else, it's crazy. No, but for your own experience, the difference is when we are getting crazier and crazier, it's like we are in a mental whirlpool and we are losing the center and getting more and more to the periphery.
Yes.
And more one is out there, it just goes, and then you try and struggle to get some little control, and it always goes through your fingers.
Mm-hmm.
The trick is not that you get somehow control of that crazy mind, but somehow you find a way to come to the center, to bring the attention back to that silent center of that whirlpool. And that silent center is here now.
While I was away, I had experience of going inward, where it's such a sense of like dignity and self-respect.
Yes.
And also like it sort of felt that I didn't need anything from the outside. It's like, you know, everything, wisdom and everything was in me, like Muji inside me, you know, Werner was inside me. It's like I didn't need anything from the outside. And it has such a depth. And I came back here and still with a sense of that. So it's almost like the equivalent of the chaos that is there with this mad mind. It's like a sense of being given something to hold on to within myself. So I'm also wondering if this is actually my spiritual path, to actually be in this extreme chaos where the mind whirls and whirls and whirls and whirls and goes to a point where there is almost no chance of coming back. But there is that essence to come back to. So thank you. What you're saying, I don't know, something's clarifying in my mind, but
yeah. In that whole whirlpool, there is always the silent center.
Yes.
And you are always connected with it, whether you are aware of it or not. And
yes.
It's not so much about struggling with the mind and bringing it somehow under control. It's a hell of a thing. It's more accepting, okay, mind is off, crazy, turning, whirling, but find a way, in spite of that, to become aware that there is something unmovable. With a simple thing like conscious breathing and relaxing. Not so much struggling, straining, getting control, but rather conscious breathing, relaxing.
Yes.
Center, breathe, relax. The old magical formula.
I knew you were going to say that, but I had to hear it again.
Right. It's good to hear it, it's good to repeat it for oneself. And accepting that you don't have control over the mind if you don't have control over the mind. Instead of desperately trying to control, because there you're getting more and more frustrated and the mind is getting worse and worse and you're more and more at the periphery.
Yes.
Right. I've gone through a period, I think my guru did this on purpose, very consciously driving me nuts. and even when I previously said, like from Advaita, oh, it's non-real, it's a dream, but once it started to look like unreal and the reality started to crumble down, then I was terrified and desperately trying to be on top of it, trying to control it. And the worse I did, the more I did, the worse I got. Yeah. And got through a real period of nuts, of madness, until sort of it started to relax and the attention sunk back. And I became aware, no matter what there is, it's still there. That immovable part in you. And then it can go as it wants. You're still at ease. That's the little difference between the mystic and the crazy person. The crazy person may perceive all kinds of different things that the usual so-called normal person is not perceiving, but is totally at the periphery of a circle, of a whirlpool, and is suffering hell from it and trying to get control. The mystic may also perceive a lot of stuff that the so-called normal right person is not perceiving, but there is always that touch with that immovable part, and then no matter what you are perceiving, it doesn't matter, because there is that aspect of you that is unmoved, is not touched by it. And you don't get there by way of mental control, but by letting go, letting go the whole mental level. Be. And you can redirect the attention from the mental level, even with the mind, asking, but who is experiencing? Or you simply can bypass that whole mental level. Still the impulse has to come from the mind, to consciously center, breathe, relax. Relaxing instead of struggling. When we are getting crazier and crazier and struggle with it, then we are feeding it and it's getting a hell of a story. If you see it and then observe it and let go, then the attention is slowly detaching from it and sinking out from it. Still, in your external story, it is not so that you have to now think in order to somehow spiritually get somewhere. You have to carry the most difficult burden possible.
Yes. Yes.
Through painful, continuous self-sacrifice.
Yes, yes, yes.
If there is an opportunity to ease up the situation, then by all means, take it.
Yes.
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 Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to talk? You're welcome. Yes, it's visible in the numbers that are here that the lockdown has eased up and it's summer in the northern hemisphere. So it's more tempting to go out. It's good. It's good to go out, to be in nature, to connect with nature. It's so soothing. Walk along amongst the trees, consciously opening the heart, connecting with these beautiful beings. It's so soothing and supporting our spiritual unfolding process. So it's good to go out. Anybody would like to come? Please come. Okay. I have made contact online, cyber contact with people in the West, partly in context that most probably soon I'll go there. And I see still, I perceive there is still so much fear. It's still so strong and all-pervading. Fear that had been induced and artificially been blown up, and then on and on and on with the media reinforced and reinforced. There's so much fear. And I can only say again, there's nothing really to be afraid of. It has been artificially created. And instead of sticking with the mind on the level where the fear has been created, with the incidents that are there, that have brought about the fear, instead of dwelling there and being stuck there and turning things over and over and over, turn the attention back to yourself. Don't try to suppress the fear. Accept when there is fear, it's there. But see the fear itself, not the stories that brought it about. Watch what fear is doing to your experience right now. See how it is affecting you physically. See how it is affecting you energetically. See how it is affecting you emotionally, intellectually. And observing this already helps to get to certain distance. If we see the thing, that's the first and important step to be able to let go of it. It's not that we have to control the fear. Simply accept, okay, it's there in my life, it's there in my mind. Sometimes I'm getting overwhelmed by it. And then instead of struggling against the emotion of fear, instead of struggling against the things that brought out the fear, about the fear, instead of indulging into thoughts that make the fear worse and worse and worse, just come back directly to the experience. And when we see what's going on, there we can start to relax. Relax, relax, relax. When we see what fear is doing in the body, then we can start to relax the body. And not desperately try to go in places where we all cramped up and relaxed that, but just relax whatever can be relaxed. Relax the legs and the feet. Relax the arms and the hands. And if you do so, then the rest starts to relax. And if the body starts to relax, already half of the fear is gone. And then when we physically relax, then automatically it's much easier to energetically relax. When we physically, energetically relax, the mind also can relax more, easier. And in that relaxation, the attention just sinks home. We don't have to get there. We are there, always. It is here, it is now. We are never apart from that silent ocean of wisdom, of peace. We haven't ever left it. It's just our dreams that we are creating. It's just our hypnosis that keeps us stuck on that level and makes us turn around and round, creating scenarios. And then there are all these influences that support those scenarios, create more scenarios. And there we feel a victim within those mental constructions. While if we learn to see it and relax, then the attention sinks back to the natural state where we are always, where we have never left. And we become aware, oh, it was all created in the mind. It was all just constructed and kept alive and kept there as a solid reality by thinking about it all the time. There is so much fear still right now in the world. Everyone who faces their own fears consciously watches what they are doing. Sometimes maybe when we are in a good position, in a good disposition, we can even invoke it and say, okay, I'm ready, come. And then learn to deal with it and learn to relax it. Everybody who is doing so is helping all the other people to make it a little bit easier, that they also can face their fear and let go, relax, and stop being afraid all the time. All this trouble that is happening around the world is possible because of fear, because somehow that fear has been put out into manifestation, and somehow very cleverly it has been kindled and kindled and kindled, and now there is so much fear. There is all this clumping down, all this control, everything is there. It can happen only because of the fear. Because somehow it had been possible to scare humanity as a whole. And once people are scared, then one can direct them and push them and control them. If we stop being afraid, then we are free. Then the whole atmosphere is cleaning up, and all this negativity that is there, that is going around, simply has to let go, cannot more exist. Each and everyone is contributing. So my friends, come home to yourself, become aware. There is always that peace, there is always that beauty, there is always that joyousness of existence. We have never been away from it. We just have to learn how we can stop preventing it. Become aware how we are preventing it, and then learn not to do that anymore. And right now, fear is a major issue, is a major aspect of it. Look at your fears. Observe them. See what they are doing on the different levels. And then, observing, just relax. And they start to disappear. Sometimes it happens that they disappear. One feels, oh, it's completely gone, but the habit is still there, strong enough that soon, boom, it's back. Then you just do the same again. Every time we're doing that consciously, stepping out, we're making it easier for ourselves, if it comes back in future, and we are making it easier for everybody else to also come out of that fear. It will come, it has to happen. As the darkness is very much manifesting, still, such a beautiful energy is so strongly active on earth, in the earth, and on earth, that gradually people have to change. And eventually, those forces who seem to be now so very much in control, they try so desperately to hold on to, because they already know they have to let go eventually. They try to draw it out as long as possible. And our capacity is for everyone to open up to that beautiful energy that makes it easy to connect with the peace of the beingness. So consciously connect with that. Consciously face the fears, the emotions that prevent us from connecting with that. See what they are doing and let them go. This is making our own life much more joyous, much more beautiful, and incidentally, that is the greatest service we can give to the world. That is the greatest service we can give into this manifestation. Okay, I'm not intending now to talk for the rest of the time of this satsang, just myself. Is there anybody else who would like to come? Please come.
Yes.
I hear a voice.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Hey, I have to look for the name Anita. Oh, it's you. I didn't recognize you.
Yeah. I'm outside.
Yeah, you just came out of the water?
Right, yes.
Yes.
Right. You know, you just mentioned the name, the subject's service, and actually today I was going to ask you what service really means, because I just recently heard it in a documentary also.
Mm-hmm.
And I like this idea because, yeah, it's like selfless service, but how to, first of all, what is really meant by it, and
Yes.
secondly, how to do it in a day-to-day world, you know, where I'm not living in an ashram or something like that.
Yeah, right. Selfless service. That's the word, that's the expression that is being used, but actually the expression in itself is wrong. It should be egoless service, because if you really do service, then you connect with the self. Now, how does this service manifest? It can manifest in so many different ways, or it can also externally not manifest at all. What makes the difference? Whether we are living a life of service or whether we are living an egoistic life, the difference is when we start to consider what we are doing, what we are thinking, what we are feeling, that we are considering the common good, the good of the totality, instead of my personal good against all the rest. Let them go to hell if I'm fine. And if we are getting more and more in that opening, that what I'm doing is having a good effect, not only for me personally, but automatically for the others, then you are doing that service. It doesn't matter whether you are doing external philanthropic works or not. If you feel like doing so, if you feel like doing social work type of work, then fine, this is perfectly great. Wonderful for those who do that. All my respect for all those who do that. But the real service is that also doing those works, that we are not always identifying in the me, I'm doing that, and developing great ideas about myself. After all, I'm a good person doing good selfless work, but it can be a total ego trip doing that. When we really start to live and breathe and exist for the common good, then we connect with the self. And connecting with the self makes us aware that we are connected with everything. Or you can say, if you don't like the word self, because we have to do selfless service, then you connect with God, with that divinity. You are that divinity. If you connect with that, then more and more you become aware you are connected to everything. And then sitting at home without, you are just radiating a beautiful influence in this manifestation. So the real service is really not to be busy all the time with my me, I, me, mind story, and this always thinking, what can I do in the future in order to be the most comfortable? What can I do there in order to evade the most trouble? What, me. Let that go and connect with yourself. And then your very existence is service. And then if you spontaneously feel like doing things, then by all means do good things. But often we need not really officially do good things, and it just comes out naturally, all these little things, all these little moments of kindness that simply spontaneously flow out of you without the idea, I'm doing something good, I'm doing a service. The more I think I'm a good person, I'm doing a good work, I'm helping others, I'm doing service, the less service we are doing. And the more you are at ease, at peace with yourself and feel connected, the more your very existence is a service to the world. Your very breathing is a blessing to the world. And then, as it comes on our life story, external life story in this world, in that role that we are playing, often you may meet circumstances and you spontaneously feel, yes, there I'm being called to give a helping hand. And then you give it. And sometimes there may be an unpleasant situation and you feel, no, it's not at all my call that I go and act in it. So you don't have to become a professional good doer in order to do service. But still, if somebody chooses that profession of doing service, like social service or any service, I mean service in a hospital service, in a way anyone who works in a restaurant is also doing service to the people. Any service, if you choose a profession like anyone who chooses a profession like this, then perfectly well, right? Because it's the natural thing for them to do. But whether their work is service or not depends entirely how much they're detaching from that me, I'm doing this as a good work. And it's getting stronger and stronger by being the self, not by denying the self, but not by hanging on to that person ego idea of myself, but be aware of that pure endness, that pure existence that is connected to all there is.
So could you say in a way that the reason why in the spiritual world it's suggested to do service is to become more egoless?
I mean, if somebody is totally immersed, absorbed in their story and only me and my personal interests, then it's certainly a step to expand the consciousness, to start to think, oh, there are also other people out there, and maybe I could start to think that not only I personally should have an okay time, but maybe they also could. And by that, we make a step. But if you are already on a certain level of consciousness, don't get too much immersed in the idea, I have to do good things. But more be aware that the more you are connecting, the more all the things you are doing are good, because you are not hooked on that me idea.
Yeah. So I just wanted also to know how to do it right. It sounds not. How to do it better, or how to really be of service. I mean, I don't mean to just do really social work, but if I do something for people, and how to be more egoless, and how to even more let go of was the me story or something.
No, I mean, if you have something in the back of your mind and you know, actually, I want to go in that direction, then maybe that is the right thing to do. But if that is not there, then you don't have to rack your brain and think, what could I possibly do to do better service? Then let life bring the situations by itself and deal with them in a, I'm not using the word now selfless, but in a as egoless way as possible.
Mm-hmm. So basically, just to connect whenever I remember while I do service.
Yes. But if there is something that is there, an idea that has been building up and then that eventually wants to manifest, then you can follow that direction. There's absolutely nothing wrong. It's great. It's nice. It's beautiful if people do that, but it's not that you have to somehow wreck your brain and try to figure out what could I do.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
It's a tricky subject. My guru is so much into external service. Actually, in the beginning, when I knew her, she tried to make people meditate, and she said, well, accepted more and more. It's not the age where many people are made to just spend most of their time for spiritual practices. So she became more and more active, created bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger thing. It's crazy what she built up in this relative short time. Riddle a whole empire of things that are happening. But from the beginning, she told, okay, it's not the age. She told to me, when I questioned her, why are you doing that? She told me, it's not the age where so many people are ready to just do their spiritual practice. And I came with the full consciousness, with the purpose of touching many people. And so I'm building up a field where so many people can be active. And because they are connected with what she has put in motion, it's different than if they were active, just in the industry or in the army or anywhere, because the reminder is always there to connect with something beyond that. But it's not that we have to do external service in order to create a better world. What really is going to make the profound change is that more and more people connect with that divinity, with that essential beingness. And the more people do that, the more it will radiate and help that process that is anyhow there. That process, that divine aspect of existence is getting stronger and stronger. And eventually all that darkness that tries to so desperately create troubles right now in the world has to go. So our service, our greatest service is that we connect with that divine essence. And then for each one, Their life is different. Some people are naturally very active. And for them, it's very natural to do a lot of external service, a lot of social type service, a lot of spiritual service, whatever. As long as it is becoming more and more an expression of that inner awareness of peace and bliss and beauty, then it's real service. So Amma actually gives, in that big story she has created, she gives everybody the opportunity to get closer to their own self, closer to reality. Of course, once immersed in the activities, then it's not easy for everybody to remember that it is that which matters. And often the mind easily goes always calculating about the external achievements within that service. And there we are again in the old mechanism with that. Many people are in difficulties around the world because of the whole year that has passed, more than a year of many times lockdown. People couldn't work, don't get money. In many places, the middle stand has been reduced into poverty. So there is a lot of opportunity externally to help. And by all means, wherever one feels one wants to help on that level, help. Just remember. Don't do it in order to create good ideas about yourself. Don't do it because you think you have a bad conscience, because my situation is a little better than the other situation, so I have to do something in order to relieve my bad conscience I have about it. Do it when it feels right. Do it when it happens spontaneously, naturally. Be always aware. The best thing you can do, not only for yourself, but for the whole manifestation, for whole humanity, and for the whole manifestation, connect consciously with your true nature, as good as you can. There I'm going again, talking. Is there anybody else who would like to come in? Please come. Just checking. Yes, yes, wonderful. The current is coming, so we can continue without without having to run down. Is there anybody who would like to come in? Please come in.
Hello, Werner.
Oh, hello, Eric.
Yeah, you were talking about Nisargata.
Nisargadatta.
Yeah, Nisargadatta. Yeah, sorry for my French thing. It's hard sometimes to speak, but I will try to be fluid. From one of a teacher I learned from, Michael Langford, wrote a book, and most of the quote he extract from his book, from Seven Sage, he made like a bridge, but most of the quote are from Nisargadatta. And my question about Nisargadatta is, I saw Nisargadatta once says on a video that Shiva Lingam is very important symbols. Can you talk about a bit what he meant about this Shiva Lingam?
Okay, I mean, if you want to know what he at that moment really meant, then we would have to ask him. Since we cannot ask him, then I just give you my ideas about the Shiva Linga.
Okay.
Shiva Linga is totally misunderstood most of the time in the West, thinking that is a sexual symbol. That and also one friend told me once he did travel in the Himalayas, a guided travel with tourist guide, and then came to the south and watching temples, and they always told them, their people, their tourists, they were guiding that the Shiva Linga, it's there everywhere, a fertility symbol. But actually, it's Shiva meditating. And Shiva meditating means Shiva, the body of Shiva, is a transformation station. That linga that looks like an erected penis is not a sexual symbol, but as it is going straight up to heaven, it's a symbol how the life force that on the lower level is manifested as sexual energy can be transformed into other creative energies. I mean, sexual energy is creative on its own level. Fine. Without that, there wouldn't ever be any babies. But that same energy need not be stuck there. But that same energy can be transformed, and out of that, that creativity can expand and manifest in subtler and more expansive and beautiful ways. So in that sense, I can agree. The Shiva Lingam is an important symbol. Then the yogi learns to become more and more a Shiva Lingam, that the yogi's body becomes more and more a transformation station. And now I use yogi in a larger sense, not somebody who is the whole day doing yoga exercises and necessarily lives in a cave, but I used spontaneously the word yogi because usually you talk about energies more in the yoga connection than in the jnana connection. Although Nisargadatta, at the end of his life, he was talking a lot about prana. Although before he was only talking about consciousness, at the end of his life, he was including that more and more and more, making clear, okay, somehow in order to be that pure consciousness, you have to make friends with that Shakti. And he himself was such a yogi, was such a transformation station. His body was such a transformation station. People came to him and somehow something happened to them.
He had a strong Shakti, huh?
Right.
Going out from him.
I was there. I had been doing practices for years, and I was there for months in Chinmaya mission. And then that first time I went to him, I came out and I felt there is something working. He has put something stronger in motion that has been waiting to get a little nudge. And then after that I met him and he did it again in a very different way. Before he was joking and praising, and then he was banging and banging. But he did something that was already there in motion, but I felt the difference. Not that I thought Nisargadatta was thinking I have to do something in this fellow and meddling around, but simply because we made a strong energetic contact. His body, who was a Shiva lingam, who was such a transformation station, had an effect, had a resonance in my body. And then after that, I met him one more time, but he was soon leaving this earth, and he made it clear that he's not the guy who keeps helping me, rather pushed me off and said also, tell the other people from Chinmaya mission not to come back there. And then it was like what he put in motion when I came to Amma, she really picked up there and continued the job. So this, for me, I haven't read any scholarly book about Shiva Lingam. I'm sure because in the Indian tradition about anything, you can find books thick like this, where they give all big stories about everything there is. And I'm sure there are long, long scholarly discourses. What I have told you is not something that I have ever read, but for me it sort of, it's clear for me when I see the Shiva Lingam. It's obvious what it means for me, and what it means for me that I have told you.
Well, I prefer this than long explanation, or I don't want to, you know, the scripture, the intellect or the concept. I wanted like to understand, because I saw another video from Saram going at the Patanlingam at the Annamalai temple, and when he was there, I came like very quiet. I felt Saram breathing. I felt quietness, and I could not explain the experience. It was effortless. But, you know, I'm in Canada. I'm not in the temple. I'm seeing this through camera. And I was like, wow, what's this? So maybe the Shakti, you know, it.
Everything is connected.
Yeah.
And if that video brought it about that you opened the heart and connected with that place, what was happening there, and through what has happened there, what is the meaning of what has happened there and the meaning of that place, then it doesn't matter if you watch a video that has been filmed much earlier in another place, the video still can do the thing. That it gives you the trigger to open up and become aware of something that is already there in you.
Yeah, it's already in there. Yeah.
Right, right. In the tradition, also they call the form of Shiva that is sitting in meditation, they call it also a Shiva Linga. Not only the form that is really looking like a penis, but also the form of Shiva with the Ganga coming out with his forearm and sitting there in meditation in Sanskrit is also called a Shiva Linga. So Shiva in meditation is a Shiva Linga, and the Shiva Linga is that manifestation on this material level that helps us to transform energies into more spiritual manifestations. For me, this is the meaning. I don't want to look for any other meaning.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
Shall we leave it at that?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Werner.
You're
Hari
welcome.
Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om. If you want, we have a little more time. If somebody wants to come in.
Hello, Werner.
Oh. Hello. Oh, this is Mariano.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, good, good. How are you? Early morning in Argentina.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. Well, it's like 7.
Oh, it's like 7.
Yeah, it's not so early. Yes,
Yeah.
it's only for me. I admit that. Admit that. It's only for me.
Yeah.
I'm very pleased to meet you. To meet you all here. I wanted to ask you about self-surrender.
Yeah.
You know, this bhakti path. That it doesn't come so natural to me.
Yeah.
But when I get it, it feels so good. Right. And then somehow I lose it.
Right.
And I just wanted to ask you how to stabilize this sensation, because it's also helped me a lot with this fear thing.
Right, sure. Surrender. And now, yes.
No, please.
And now you are not talking that you want to surrender as a disciple to a guru, but it's more like that you want to surrender to that divinity.
Yes, to consciousness.
Yeah.
Although I also refer to that very much with Ramana.
Yeah.
I feel a connection very strongly, but in general, I mean this consciousness.
Yes.
Like surrender to that, not only to investigate and to remain there, but also like this giving up, this leave it to that force.
Right. And actually the question is, sometimes it's happening, but how could you stabilize it?
Yes.
Actually,
sometimes it happens, but it's rarely.
Right.
To me, it's not.
It's not that there is a magic trick, and once you know that trick, you can keep that. It is wonderful that sometimes you feel it's happening, and actually that's you already saying. You just make it possible by making yourself available, but then it's happening. It's not that you can really do that surrender, but you can prevent the surrender by being very much in the me, I and go. There we can do a lot to prevent it. But in order to make it possible, we have to make ourselves available. And we are making ourselves available by connecting with that divinity as good as we can and let go. And then sometimes it happens that you feel in harmony, that you feel, and then automatically, beautiful that you mentioned it, automatically it comes also the trust. When you feel that connection, then you don't feel fear, because the trust is there, everything is taken care of. No matter what is happening in this crazy world, it's fine.
Thank you.
Right. And then something happens and poof, we are out of it. And then we may think, what the heck have I done wrong? Why? I was there, I did it. After that, we may think I did it, but actually I didn't do it. I simply made possible that it could happen. And somehow we have to go through our story. And it often, most of the time, it's not so that when this happens, it stays. It's actually very, very rare cases. For most of us, it's like this, that there are moments like this, moments of grace, where everything is perfectly fine and all right, and then the mind starts again, the old habit takes over, and we have to go through that again, and then don't think that you did something wrong. It just was not time that you really could stay there. Then instead of beating yourself up and think, damn, why did I lose it? Rather have the attitude, thank you very much for that moment of grace. It gives you such a beautiful pointer in which direction to go. And then also surrender to the fact, okay, I'm back in the mill and have to continue. The work is not finished. The habit is still there. It is also a safety measure because somehow our physical manifestation has to be ready that we can stay there. If we stay there, it's like the energy is getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, and somehow the body, the nervous system has to be ready for that. If it would stay and the body is not ready for that, then we go crazy or die from it because it's burning out. So you're getting those moments where you are allowed to dive into that and then slipping out of it is in a way a preparation phase also on the physical energetic level to be capable of staying there. And then you don't have to feel bad about it, but still you can do what you can to be available that it can happen anytime. That's the thing. We cannot do it.
Yeah.
And yet we have to do something about it. What we can do is to have a good look at ourselves, how we are functioning, and see how much we are doing to prevent it and learn not to do that anymore. In that way, you make yourself available. But that's all we can do. Making yourself available, and then it happens. And sometimes then it will happen and stay there around for a longer time. And then still, flip, suddenly you are out of it. But then, okay, then you can surrender to that fact and think, okay, it is so. And just instead of thinking, oh, why, it shouldn't be like this, instead of resisting against that, and damn, I did something wrong. Just bypass that, okay, work goes on, and keep on observing what is going on. Keep on seeing when you create tensions unnecessarily, when you create contradictions unnecessarily, and learn to let those go. That is the best invitation that it quickly comes back. Can't do it. It's not a trick that you have to learn and then you can bring it about. But the trick is to be sincere about it in making yourself available. That's all we can do. That's the difficulty for the mind, to accept that we have to do something, that we have to make ourselves available, because if we are just keeping on turning around in our old habits, we keep on preventing them. So we have to do something, and yet we can't do it. We can just let it happen, but we can make ourselves available. That we can. And when you slip out, then you go back to making yourself available again.
Yeah.
Right. Shall we leave it at that?
Yes. Thank you. I have to go through this to make myself available, and this thing of the gratitude. I think it's a very good point, not to leave it there and okay, thank you for as much as it counts. Okay, it's okay, and feel this gratitude and wait. It doesn't depend on me. I cannot do more.
Right. We cannot command God to do things. Believe me, I tried. Just made a fool out of me all the time. And I had to come to the point that it's a matter of making yourself available and letting go.
Yeah.
Let it happen.
Thank you, Werner.
You're welcome. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Okay, I think we'll stop for today. The official Satsang. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om.